Hi, everybody. I am Teresa Anderson. I am head of marketing for our English-speaking countries at AgoraPulse. English-speaking countries is relevant when you realize that AgoraPulse is a French company, and we're very fortunate to have with us today a member of the French team, our data big brain extraordinaire. David is with us today. He's pulled some data for us, and we are excited to have him here. Thank you, David. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, Teresa.
I'm so excited that you're here. You have got all the good stuff that everybody watching this wants to see. You know, the reality is that a lot of times as marketers, we're kind of blindly moving through a data desert, not really having good analytics to make data-driven decisions. And what we're going to do here today is, for the first time ever, we're going to reach into the machine of AgoraPulse and we're going to pull out some data that's never been seen before around YouTube. So for many of you, YouTube is a big part of your strategy, and the stuff that we're going to cover today is going to jump right to being actionable for you, so you can tweak your YouTube strategies to be a little bit more effective. And what you're going to find here today is a lot of it is very interesting and pretty shocking. So David, let's jump right into it. This was super interesting. We've got who is publishing on YouTube right now based on 3,000 orgs and 100,000 posts. So if we took 3,000 organizations and 100,000 posts, what are the size of companies that are publishing on YouTube today? Go. What do we see here that's really interesting, David? What do you see here?
Yeah, so these are the interesting data that we have, and basically those data comes from AgoraPulse. If you look on Google, you will have a very hard time to find data about YouTube because YouTube do not provide public data. So this is our statistics. The first one is very interesting. It shows that most of the companies publishing on YouTube, at least AgoraPulse users, are solo, are one-person companies. So you have a very disproportionate amount of one-person companies publishing on YouTube. And big companies do not seem to use YouTube that much in their strategies, right? The second one is also very interesting. What types of companies are publishing the most on YouTube? And number one is e-commerce. It seems that YouTube is a big part of the e-commerce strategy, right?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense too. If you're primarily selling online, it makes sense that you have a big YouTube strategy because YouTube is such a powerful search engine. So that makes perfect sense to me. And the agencies being really being present on YouTube also makes a lot of sense to me. Some of these other ones are interesting, and especially when you're considering the next graph that you've given us about those, like what those industries are.
The last one is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
So if you look at what type of industries are using YouTube, services is number one. By services, we consider a lot of agencies. So we have marketing agencies, we have advertising agencies, consulting, but we also do have childcare services, lawyers, employment agency, recruiters. So these are the services that we consider, and services is by far number one in terms of YouTube publisher.
That's super interesting. And I would guess, as a marketer, I'm guessing that services are YouTube is a great way for a service provider to connect with their audience face to face. So often those are choices to choose a lawyer, to choose a recruiter that are based on personal relationships. So it makes a lot of sense to me that they would be leveraging YouTube to get themselves in front of their customers in a more personal, video driven way. So that makes perfect sense to me. Audience, check this out. Look and see your industry and how it's being used on YouTube, because that's going to help you decide how much of an opportunity could be available for you on YouTube. When to post. This is also interesting, David. Give us your takeaway from this, when videos are published versus when people are engaging with them.
Yeah, I do like this one too. You can see from the first graph that people are posting a lot during the week on YouTube, and it's normal. Like, people are working during the week and they use YouTube during the week to publish on YouTube, right? But it seems that the average engagement is better on Saturday and overall during the weekend, but Saturday is really when we have a peak of engagement, right? So it might be interesting to consider posting at the end of the week. Like, YouTube is not Instagram. If you publish on Monday, you will still have some reach by the end of the week, even the weeks after. But still, if you publish on YouTube, you will have chances to have your video on the front page right after you published it, right?
Yes, that's huge. That's huge. So I think that's such a good takeaway from this information. And it makes exactly the reasons you said. It makes perfect that you're chugging along in your work week and you're publishing your YouTube videos as you finish them. This is really good data that shows us there might be some value in holding those and scheduling them or posting them on Saturday so that they can ride that wave of the front page, right? So good insight here from the platform, David. I love this. All right, let's move along, because we've got a lot of data to cover here. YouTube is a big strategy for a lot of our viewers. So let's look at this one, post volume over time. So what's the most interesting to me about this graph is that we're covering a very large time period. We're covering 7,000 organizations, 340,000 posts. So a big data set here over a long period of time. What's the data telling us about how posting is going volume-wise?
So this one will mostly give context for the next slide, but we can see here that people are using YouTube. It's not going anywhere. It's even trending up. People seems to be posting more and more on YouTube.
Yep.
But if you go to the next slide, we do have something very interesting.
Yes. So keep this picture in your mind, and then watch how this changes for the next slide. It's very interesting.
Engagement seems to go down. So even if people are posting a lot on YouTube and they seem to be posting more and more, the engagement seems to be going down on YouTube. So very interesting here, right?
Yeah, very, very interesting. And there's probably some correlation here. If people are trending up and posting more, as they should be, as we recommend to them to do, that means there's a lot more videos for people to engage with. So that makes sense to me that the engagement per video would be going down because there's more for people to choose from. So let's talk about this on slide 6. Maybe a way that you can start to hedge your bets that you get more engagement. So how do hashtags tie into engagement? Is this something we can use to boost our chances of getting engagement on YouTube?
Yeah, so this one is very interesting. I'm not posting on YouTube. I'm mostly a YouTube user, so I had no idea about this phenomena. But it seems that only 30% of people are using hashtags on YouTube, which still seems quite a lot to me, because I even did not know that people could use hashtag on YouTube before researching for the data. So 30% are using hashtag on YouTube, but it seems that when you use hashtag on YouTube, the average engagement is way higher. So from 130 engagement on average without hashtags to almost 300 engagement on average when you use hashtags.
Right. And I think the answer to that is very unique to YouTube. I think there's a gem hidden right here for our viewers, because this third graph, I think, is the reason why the first two graphs work the way they do. So what is the number one hashtag that people are using on YouTube?
People use these shorts a lot.
Right, because it just shows you that consumers are coming to YouTube and they're looking for shorts. They like shorts. They're consuming shorts. So people here who are in the know, they realize, oh, if I put the hashtag shorts, if I use that hashtag, then it boosts my engagement. I mean, I think that that's a pretty clear picture that we're seeing from this. How do you feel about that data? That makes sense to you, David, too?
Yeah, it does make sense, but that's interesting. I think by the end of this presentation, we will try to have a conclusion about the shorts on YouTube and compare it to the shorts on other platforms.
Okay, great. Good. Let's do it. I can't wait to hear. Yeah. So let's look at what are we going to expect? So this is what everybody wants to know. All this data, this historical data is great, but how is it going to help me get ahead in the second half of the year? I got to close out. I got goals to hit. This is kind of our executive takeaway, our extrapolation of the data. David, what are you recommending to people for the second half of 2023? What are we seeing?
Okay, so back to the two graphs that we have seen before. The first graph is the volume of publication on YouTube. So people are posting on YouTube and they seem to be posting more and more over time. The second one is the average engagement. So it seems that average engagement is going down. So one possible reason is exactly what you mentioned earlier, Teresa. It's if people are posting more, is it possible that there is so much content to consume on YouTube that the engagement is basically and mathematically going down? I will just give two numbers that I did not have on the slides. In 2021, there were about 23K channels above 1 million subscribers on YouTube. In 2023, there is 40K channels above 1 million subscribers. So almost times 2 in 2 years. So
Wow.
there is a lot of contents and a lot of channels growing on YouTube. So it might be one of the reasons why the average engagement is going down. It's an extrapolation, but
Right.
it's a very interesting clue.
Right. And it makes perfect sense to me. And so what are we going to do as marketers if now we have this hard data that's telling us this is happening? What are some ways that we can make some adjustments and some changes in our strategy to close out the year strong? I have some thoughts where we could take a minute and possibly get ahead of what we're seeing trending here. But let's talk a little bit more before we get to that part of it. Let's talk a little bit more about YouTube Shorts. Everybody has their eye on Shorts. What are you taking from this data?
Okay, so this one is interesting. Disclaimer, it's very hard to have information about the shorts themselves. YouTube do not give those informations, right? It's impossible, even when you synchronize data from social networks, to get information about the shorts. So what we tried to do was to hack the hashtags. So when people use the hashtag shorts, and you see these hashtags on a lot of shorts, we try to see the patterns and the trends of people using the hashtag shorts to see if shorts is getting somewhere on YouTube. The first graph shows you the number of shorts hashtags that we see over time. Like, it seems that people are using the hashtag shorts more and more. It's trending up. So we can extrapolate and conclude that shorts are used more and more, right?
Right.
But it's interesting to look at the difference in terms of engagement between YouTube and TikToks, because shorts basically comes from TikTok, right? I mean, it's the realms of shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And on average, it seems that the engagement on TikToks is still way higher than on YouTube. It's interesting to me, but we have to keep in mind that this is definitely not the same type of content. This is not the same target, not the same type of content. One extrapolation we could probably make here would be to say that people will probably be reposting a lot of TikTok videos on YouTube, but maybe not creating a lot of original short contents on YouTube, right?
Interesting. Yeah, that's a safe assumption based on this data. What I find interesting, though, is that I wonder if this is when you're talking about the engagement here, maybe you know the answer to this, David, but when you're talking about the engagement being so much higher on TikTok than YouTube's, was this all things? Were there more posts? Were there more volume too? That was my question is, are they posting more on TikTok and getting more engagement on TikTok, or are they posting the same, but just the engagement is different?
Well, it's hard to say because we don't have the same volumes of data for YouTube and TikTok. So we had to try to compare what is comparable, but with the same amount of volume. So that's why we use average, because average do not really depend on how much you are posting, right? As soon as you have a critical mass of data that you can analyze, the volume is not that important.
Got it. Okay, good. So interesting. So there seems to be a trend here towards repurposing. Is that what I'm hearing you say, where people are creating videos, short form video, vertical video on TikTok, and they're repurposing that on YouTube? Is that what we think that we're seeing here?
It seems to me. Well, if I had to do this, that's probably what I will do, because TikTok seems to be more interesting in terms of monetary, for monetary reasons. It seems to be more interesting in terms of engagement. But still, YouTube Short does exist. It drives traffic. We have seen that hashtags can drive a bit more ranking, right? So it's interesting to still have YouTube Short in the strategy.
Right. And I would say to you, what I saw from the data too about the hashtags, because hashtags come and go with people feeling like they work and they don't work. That's kind of something that marketers are always kind of not sure if they work or if they don't work. I would tell you what I saw in that data was they're using it because it's working, because people are going to the platform and looking for shorts.
It's very interesting because when we analyze the same statistics for Instagram, it seems that hashtags on Instagram do not have that much impact. It does a little bit, but on YouTube, it's massive.
Right. All right, good. We have gone a minute into our Q&A time, so I want to make sure that we get to that because we're already having some good questions popping up. And so one of the questions that we have here, and David, if we don't have the hands on this data right now, we can always stick it in the chat for later to answer these questions. But when we're looking at that Saturday, where there seems to be more engagement on YouTube on Saturday, do we have a time? Do we know what time of day is best, or do you think that doesn't matter when it comes to posting on Saturday?
Well, I will have two answers to that. We kind of do have the data, but I won't be confident to use it because we probably don't have that critical mass to tell you on Saturday what is the best hour to post. So we could probably give you something, but I won't be confident to give it as a recommendation.
Right. That's totally fair. I mean, yes, that makes perfect sense. So, Peter, the answer there is that we don't have the volume of data to give you like an actual hard answer that we feel really confident about. Safe to say Saturday, we have enough data to tell you that we feel confident that Saturday is the day with highest engagement. Is that accurate, David?
Yeah. We can probably come up with something, but it will not be like a strong recommendation, right?
Got it. So, Peter and everybody else, if we can get that, if we can pull that together, we'll stick it in the chat so you guys can refer back to it. Another question also, any difference between long form video and shorts? Are you seeing any engagement differences? Can we isolate that inside of our data to show that, like, hey, shorts seem to be much more popular than, or just by the hashtags, we're kind of trying to get that picture?
Very interesting question. If we look at the hashtags, if we just isolate hashtag shorts, it seems like video without the hashtag shorts have a slightly more higher engagement. Yeah. Wow. Just the shorts. It's interesting.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can say. We don't have, and YouTube do not provide the data about the video length, right? So it's almost impossible to say to compare videos engagement based on video lengths using our APIs. So I cannot answer with confidence about this question.
Well, I think the creative way you approach the data here by isolating out the hashtags was genius. So thank you for doing that.
It's a hack. It's not the official way of using the YouTube APIs, but it's a hack and it gives some clues, right?
Yeah, no, great idea. That's why we have your big brain here, because I never would have thought to do that. So that's great. And that does give us at least a peek inside how the two are performing differently. And then we're going to probably close on this question because it's such a controversial one, which are, David, are there any penalties for posting using a third-party tool like Agorapulse? Do you think that video? So a lot of people think that if you post natively on YouTube or LinkedIn or Instagram, if you post natively and not using a tool like Agorapulse, you get better engagement, that somehow the platforms are penalizing you for using a third-party tool. And we hear this a lot. And is there anything inside the data that, or anything that we've done internally as a team to say, no, we don't think that that's true? I know we've been reassured that's not true, but what's your, as the big brain in the house and the person who can see behind the veil at all the data, what do you think about this? What's your official opinion on it?
Well, it's a question that we have frequently. So basically, let's say that performance are worse when using Agorapulse. It would mean that the platform will be penalizing Agorapulse on purpose, right? And it's definitely not the case. That's partners. We work with them. We pay for some of those APIs. So we pay a lot for Twitter, for example. So they will not penalize Agorapulse.
Right.
We had this question recently from some of our clients about Reels on Instagram, and we did an analysis, and at least for the Reels, because this one was recent, there is no difference.
Right. And you know what, maybe what we'll do if I think that I have seen that data myself, and maybe our audience, I don't think we've ever shared it. I don't know if we have or not, but that might be worth sharing at some point, maybe as another inside the machine, or maybe just as a data one-off that we share with the audience. Because I do think there's concern about that. And there are people that feel like they have anecdotal evidence that says that that's the case. But our own internal says, these are our partners. They have assured us that's not the case. We have some research that shows it's not the case, right? David, we feel comfortable saying that?
Yep.
Yeah, I feel comfortable saying that too. Okay, so we are officially done with our 15 minutes of data, 5 minutes of questions. We're going to jump into our closing now. We're going to make sure everybody has an opportunity to join our Slack channel. If you come over here, you can go right inside of your Slack channel, and our Slack channel will appear right inside of your normal work Slack channel. So it's very convenient. You can go on there. You can ask some more questions. We might talk David into joining us over there and answering more questions. So definitely do that if you want to keep this conversation going. If you have data that you want to see us tackle in a future Inside the Machine, please go to that Slack channel, make that request directly to us or in the chat. We also have the opportunity, if you want to see Agorapulse in action, how you could use us to post on YouTube and to get those efficiencies of having one platform to do all of this. You're not logging into everything individually. We welcome you to do that. And then we also have a community that we invite people to join too. So again, conversations like this are also available in our Social Media Pulse community. David, I want to tell you how grateful I am that you were here today. I could not have done this without you and all of your extensive knowledge of the platform and of the data. So thank you for being here and sharing all this with our audience.
Sure, my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Teresa.
Good. We'll do it again soon. So thanks everybody. If you have any questions, dump them in the chat and we'll put all these links in the chat as well.